assuming that you have to act a certain way or be a certain person just because of your gender.
I guess just pre-assuming someone should be something just because they're male or female.
Certain attributes are given to certain sexes. So like you'd say this is like a girl thing and this is a boy thing.
Certain characteristics or I guess qualities to one sex or the other sex.
I guess just expecting people to conform to certain lifestyle or rules based on what gender they are.
It's typically the sort of attribution, the taking of what we may say, the way I like to think about it is the taking of sort of trivial differences between male and female.
I think that has to do a lot with majors. Like I know when I was looking at majors, I never really even looked into anything in the math or engineering, mostly because it was mainly guys. And then I actually started off as an animal science major, and it's like 95% girls and maybe like 2 guys per class.
I don't know if it's necessarily encouraged, maybe like subconsciously, but like how, you know, more of the sciences and technology classes, there are not as many girls, and that's something that I've seen in my own major. I'm in a class this year with 50 people, and I'm one of 3 girls in it, and that's my engineering math class. So that's pretty fun, pretty stereotypical, what you'd expect.
One is bathrooms in which it reinforces the gender binary. That's a fairly easy one.
I think there's a kind of implicit pressure, a kind of implicit a normative assumption that there's going to be more women in the study of in an English class or as English majors than there will be, you know, studying mathematics or studying engineering for that matter.
No.
No, because my mom's always raised me to believe that I can be anything that I want to be.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, kind of. I thought about joining some of the intramural teams, but again, it was mostly guys, and I kind of felt like I wouldn't fit in.
I personally have never experienced this, but that's because I have the privilege of not having to experience it.
I don't think, like, really so.
I think I've been fortunate enough that no one has told me that, and I think I've been encouraged by people to not think that way.
I don't feel that I've ever been excluded from or disinclined to do anything because I thought it was too feminine.
Where guys could wear the muscle tanks, especially in high school, but girls couldn't even show their shoulders because, God forbid, you show your shoulders, you will provoke someone.
Girls aren't allowed to show their shoulders in class, which I think is the stupidest thing. Can I say anything I want?
Yeah.
Alright, well, girls aren't allowed to go around and do whatever they want to with men, and then men do that, and then they get praised for it.
A lot of times girls are considered okay for them to be more artsy, like with dance or being an art major, and then if a guy does it, then they could be perceived as like gay or like not manly.
I mean, I guess like growing up, girls have a more, like, they're supposed to be more refined and like poised and quiet, I guess, and boys are supposed to be more like outgoing and talkative. And it's not as big of a deal when like a boy acts out versus a girl, or it's like less looked down upon, I guess.
Yeah, definitely, because if you're discouraged against trying something that you're interested in, you might never know if that's something that you really want to pursue as a career, or, you know, just if you don't like it and you want to try something else. So I think that it kind of deters people from finding their real path in life.
Absolutely, that should have nothing to do with what you do with your future. If you're passionate about something and you're good at it, or it's something you want to pursue, then that should really be the only factor that you're thinking about.
Like, especially with this day and age, like, people are becoming more like gender neutral, and they're trying to find ways to deal with that. So I think it's like a big thing to think about for sure. Like, you could be hurting someone else's feelings or if that's who they want to be, like, you could just be like ruining their lives.
Just allowing kids to be whoever they want to be. If a guy wanted to be in the kitchen and make a pie, let him do it. If a girl wants to build something with Legos and become an engineer, let her do it.
I don't know. I mean, if we just didn't bring it up anymore, then I feel like it'd just go away. But if we like keep trying to force it, it just keeps bringing it up, so people keep doing it.
Probably just educating people more on like the topic, and being more encouraging of both sexes trying different things, and like being more inclusive.
I mean, definitely like avoiding making any sort of statements that would deter people from doing something they love because of some stereotype. And I guess more than not saying anything about it would be to like encourage people to really pursue what they're good at. If you can tell that a student likes something that maybe isn't stereotypically for their gender.
A lot of this has to be in how we raise our kids to understand and to comprehend gender, but that's going to be a very far way off from what it looks like right now.
Just be more open-minded about those problems in the first place. Like, just listening to yourself when you talk, like, think before you say something. Like, would you want to be in that position?
This may not sit well with the viewers of this video. I think it's something that's just going to have to sort of run itself out, and it will eventually run itself out.
Going into these interviews, I was prepared to need to give a decent amount of explanation with the questions that I was asking. But as it turned out, most of those that I interviewed are already fairly fluent in this issue of gender stereotyping in schools. The only problem that I did come across, however, was whenever I asked them to make a connection from gender stereotyping to a personal experience of their own. This proved to be very challenging for most of them to come up with an answer for. I was surprised by how challenging it was for them to answer this, considering how well-rounded their answers were for the other questions of the interview. This showed me that while it was surprising how much everyone knew about this topic and its detrimental effects on others, there needs to be an enhancement in the conversation that we're having about gender so that everyone can recognize it when facing it themselves.